Hey Stampers, it's Meg from LovenStamps, and you're here for another Maker Mornings with Meg video, so I'm excited to see you. And we have a ton of things that we're going to talk about today, which is always fun, right? So today, first of all, May Day is coming up in a couple of days, and if it's not a tradition that you're familiar with, it goes back a long way, and I should have Googled it to see where May Day started or came from. So if you know, leave a comment. Hi Carol, hey Margie. Is it Margie or Margie? Anyway, so if you know how May Day started, leave a comment and let us know. Otherwise we can now check it out later. But May Day is May 1st, and when I was a little kid, we used to make little flower cones. So, you know, you take like a little piece of paper, like 6x6 or something, like this one, which we're gonna use a little later, and just wrap the ends together and make sort of a cone shape from it. You could adhere it up one side, trim it down, and we'd put little flowers in it and a little ribbon, and then we would deliver these for May Day to our neighbors. And I remember going to deliver these to some special neighbor friends and to celebrate May Day. So May 1st is coming up, so we're gonna make a flower card today, and our flower card is going to be reminiscent of the ones that we made in episode 127. These guys here, because these were so pretty and so popular. You guys loved these, but the trick with this paper, this True Love Designer Series paper from these, is that it is retiring at the end of June, and then it'll be gone. So fortunately, there's a stamp that's very similar to that, because once you've used up your paper, it's finished, but your stamps you have forever. And so the stamp is Bloom and Grow, this one right here. And the cool thing about this that's super timely is that the dies are, let's see, they're not all here because I have one out. The dies are on super duper special. They're like $8 instead of $35. So a good thing to think about adding right now, as the retiring product is still available and still discounted, because that'll be gone on May 3rd. So let's see, May Day, flowers, and yesterday we talked about the difference between the Staz-On and the Memento pad, and I got some nice comments back, thank you guys, about how much you appreciated understanding that difference finally. Because yesterday we did watercolor with our paper pumpkin alternate card, and we used the Staz-On, right? So Staz-On is watercolor. Today we are going to use Memento and Stampin' Blends, to do our coloring, okay? So we're gonna switch it up from yesterday. So if you missed that explanation from episode 130, you're gonna wanna go back and check that out so that you really understand the difference between those two ink pads, because there's a definite right and wrong time to use them to get the best results. Okay, anything else I wanna intro to you guys? Yep, let's just get started stamping, okay? All right, so I'm going to, I didn't say good morning to everybody. Hey, Tanya and Sue and Taryn and Alice and Crystal and Rita and Kay and Terry, Paula, Petra, oh gosh, you guys are all, Jenny, Rita, Cheryl, Sandy, everybody. It's fun to see you guys. And I see some new names this morning. I know sometimes people pop up and sometimes they don't. So if I didn't say hi, I still love you, I promise. Okay, so let's flip you guys down this direction, and we might end up getting a little closer here at some point. So that you can really see what is going on. But I'm going to go ahead and pop our stamp on here. So I have Bloom and Grow here, and the coordinating dies, which I said are on super clearance. So we're gonna grab some basic white cardstock and my Memento, because remember, here's my little visual reminder, when you're using the Stampin' Blends markers, sorry, I like them to be in order. Stampin' Blends markers, you want to always go with Memento. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and ink this up, and then go ahead and stamp here on my piece of white, okay? And we get a beautiful black image. I do love Memento for sort of my all-purpose black stamping. If I'm using water, obviously I need to use Staz-On, but I do love Memento for sort of that all-purpose black. It's just such a pretty, true black color. Okay, and so then we are going to go ahead and do some coloring here. And I'm going to start off, I've talked about these before. So Stampin' Blends markers are alcohol markers, and the trick that's a little different this time, if you've watched my Stampin' Blends coloring before, or the ones that I did earlier with that True Love Designer Series paper, this is different because we don't have any color here lines. So I know it's like coloring without training wheels. Our training wheels are taken away, but we're going to use the same principles that we would use with color here lines. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about with those, you can go back and check those out from episode 127, yeah. So without color here lines, we are left a little bit to our own devices, but the process is still the same. And I'm also going to add one step at the end that's a little different. So first step, take your light marker and lay down a foundation of color all over. Step 2, add the darker marker around places that are going to be shadowed, okay? So down where the petals fall into the center, there's going to be shadow. And then any place behind where petals are overlapping, okay, that is going to be a shadow. So here, see these petals that are in the background? Those need a little bit of, here where there's an overlay, background, 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 background. This one is behind the petal next to it, so I'm going to add a little extra color there, background, background. So you can kind of see how I'm picking and choosing as I go, the ones that are in the background, the ones that are front, okay? Now then, third step is also the same. We're going to color a little bit more at the intersection between the lighter and the darker of those tones so that they're not, see how this line here is pretty harsh? I'm going to add more color in here. And Sandy, I'm glad you always learn something new each time. I try, right? That's the idea, to grow a little bit. Ha ha ha. No pun intended. Pretty bad pun too. So anyway, okay. Now, so there we have our flowers colored. So same steps, but the added one is the color lifter. And this is available as a single Stampin' Blend. The supplies are all in the video description. And you're not going to see any difference as I'm doing this. You're going to think, wait, what's she doing? So what I'm doing is I'm going around the tops of the petals, a few of them, to lighten that color. And this takes time to act, okay? I should have left one undone so that you'd have some comparison. But here you can see it starting to come in here. So see here where I've colored in the top of this petal with my color lifter, it just lightens a little bit. So if you've gotten to the point where you're like, oh, I wish I hadn't added quite so much color there, you can use the color lifter to go back and take some of that out. Okay, so I'm gonna use Granny Apple Green. And if you're wondering how I picked these colors, Mango Melody, I use these because I love this color. It's sort of an orangey yellow, and the Stampin' Blends are actually retiring. They're a little bit discounted right now too. This color of Stampin' Blends. Don't worry, I didn't mean to panic you. The Stampin' Blends in general are not retiring. So if you love the mango as much as I do, you're gonna wanna grab that before they're gone. Okay, so we did our step 1 with the Granny Apple of laying down the light color. 2, add the darker where there's overlaps or like bases of leaves. And then you guys remember step 3? Step 3, blend at the intersection. There you go. I've been working on my French. Je parle français un petit peu with Duolingo, and there's all these pauses where it like wants you to pause and come up with the answer to say in French. So practicing my pauses for our stamping techniques here kind of cracks me up. So I've been having a fun conversation en français with a stamper on YouTube, so I'm sure she's horrified by my terrible grammar, but I'm counting on her to let me know if I make mistakes. Okay, so Mango Melody, I'll just show you really up close. Check these little blooms out here with that little tiny dot of extra bright color at the bottom, and how much more dimensional and pretty that is than this one here with these guys that are totally flat. It really is subtle, but it makes a difference to have that difference color. And they're so small, I'm not gonna go back. Oh, and I didn't add our flower center color, so I'm gonna add this. Okay, and if you saw me do that little scribble to the side, here is what my thought on that. If I overlap my Melon Mambo, because I'm using an alcohol marker and I have an alcohol alcohol ink that's already on there, sometimes you can lift up color accidentally with your lighter Stampin' Blend, and I just want to run that out to make sure that it's like run out of my marker tip rather than having it sort of discolor the tip of the marker. So that's kind of why I do that. All right, so here is my die that I'm going to add to this. So we're going to go ahead and die cut this, and oops, remember to keep your washi tape handy so that you can just add a little piece of washi tape to keep that die in place, and go right across there. And then I realized that I didn't die cut one ahead of time, so I'll do this for you here. But I have my mini die cut machine, and you can see I always keep my washi tape right there so that it stays where I want it to. So I'm gonna put my number 1 pad down, my number, whatever these are, cutting plates, and number 2 cutting plates, I guess. Cut a little bit more off there. There we go. And then my cutting plate on top. So, and I always stagger my plates, so I haven't really had any trouble with things running through. Putting it on your table paper isn't the best base for it. It has a tendency to scramble around there, but no big deal. So then I'm gonna take this and pop my plates out, and we have our flowers. Now, this flower, of course, is one that you can stamp and create as many times as you want. So I love designer series paper for the ease and the quickness and the inspiration. But if you are looking for something kind of quick, a little bit more repeatable, a little bit more, you can keep making them as long as you want. What's the word I'm looking for? Then this is a really great choice. Oh, and I wanted to show you another cool aspect of this Bloom and Grow budding blooms dies is what they're actually called, is the scallop border. So there's 2 of them. You can use them next to each other to extend, or you can use them to make any width scalloped paper that you want and cut everything at once. So I love when there are dies that really make things a little bit easier there. Okay, so now what are we gonna do with this? I have my Melon Mambo cardstock here. So again, you can see those colors like jump off the page when I match them up. But I want more interest in our background. So I'm gonna grab my also retiring designer series paper. These are the Brights colors, and I love the way they look together. So I said that I picked these colors because they're all Brights. If you're a color picking newbie, we've all been there. But one of the easy ways to get started is to get an assortment of colors. So there are 10 colors in a family. Every single one of them can be mixed and matched with the others for beautiful projects. Their color values are matched by the artists at Stampin' Up! To give you really great results. So I picked 3, Melon Mambo, Granny Apple Green, and Mango Melody. So I'm gonna grab this pattern here, and I'm gonna use this subtle background. Now, there will be new designer series papers in these assortment packs like that. This is the Brights assorted pack, but these are a little bit discounted. So it's always nice to have those assortments available when you're stamping, and you just wanna emphasize a color. The pattern designer series papers are great too, but I do love having these solids available, so. All right, so I'm gonna cut a huge piece of this. So it's gonna be 4 by 5 1/4. And I know you're thinking, there's a little me that's thinking it too. Like, oh my gosh, Meg, you're using so much of that paper on one card. But you know what? There are, how many sheets in here? 40 sheets in here. So even if I use this much on every single card, I would have 40 cards from this one package, which is it makes me less stressed about using so much at once, right? Does anybody else stress over using so much paper at once? So now let's put this back on the background. We still have our color match, but we've softened the background with a little bit of pattern. And I don't know about you, but I am much happier with that. So then let's see next what we want to do. I always say I like to have an extra layer to kind of connect between the two. And right now they're pretty like, these are flowers and that's background. So let's look at putting a background layer in the middle. And to do that, I decided to go with my stitched nested label dies. So these are also retiring. We can have a moment of silence for them. I know. I'll be okay though. And I know you will be too. There's new fun things coming, but if you do love these, don't wait. And one of the cool things about them is that they can be used to make windows as well as panels. So I'll show you on this one that I've pre-cut here. See how there's a stitch line all around the edge? Let's see. Actually, you can see it here because I used the same piece of paper. So what I did was I cut this window out from this big piece of paper, and you can see that there's a stitch line on the piece I'm going to use and a stitch line on the scrap. So you can use this, like if this was going to be your window and you're going to have a window on a card, you can have that interest stitch line around the edge. So really cool. All right, so we have this here, very cool. Now we're starting to kind of do some sequencing to our layers, so it's not quite so like this is the front, this is the back. And then we are going to go ahead and add a greeting to this. And the greetings from this set are very nice. Great, for wedding season, forever starts today. And then some thank you and celebrate you birthday cards. But I also like this, you are simply wonderful. And so I've got this one mounted and I'm going to use my Memento black again. Like I said, I really like this as my go-to black. And here is what we're doing now. So I was trying to decide what color to use with this because I didn't want to put a white strip across the bottom. I wanted some color to it. So this is Petal Pink, and that's okay, but it's a little bit, it changes the tone a little bit. It's a little bit pinky, orangey, doesn't really go with the mango or the melon. It's okay though. Or this was Petal Pink, Blushing Bride. And Blushing Bride, this is Petal Pink. This is Blushing Bride, and it's okay too, but it's really far from the mango, and it didn't quite bring out the colors that I wanted. So here's our sneak peek. You guys ready? This is Pale Papaya, and check out how perfect it is with both of those colors. Here, I'll get you up real close. It's perfect with mango, and it is perfect with the Melon Mambo. It's got enough energy to it that really helps to re-energize that Melon Mambo. So like here was the Blushing Bride, but it sucks energy away from the Melon Mambo, I think. Whereas the Pale Papaya is like, woohoo, it's a party, let's go. So we're gonna go ahead and use our Pale Papaya. So this color will be out on May 4th. And you can add it to your order starting then. There'll be no downtime on May 4th as they roll over to the new catalog. So suppose you could start ordering it at midnight, midnight Mountain Time on May 4th if you're so inclined. But the in colors are beautiful. I've shown a couple sneak peeks of them, and I think you guys will be excited to see them. All right, so I'm just gonna trim this down so that we have a little bit of a banner there. And then this is gonna add back to our card. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with this, but again, I really want an extra connection here between what we're doing and what we're like layering and what we've got in the background. Let's see, Cheryl says, oh my gosh, Cheryl's your birthday May 1st. She said when she made May baskets as a child, she thought everybody was celebrating her birthday, and she was disappointed when she found out that wasn't the case. Oh, Cheryl, happy birthday early. All right, so I'm going to, like I said, I want to add some extra layering in here. And fortunately, there are these extra little cute images here in our stamp set. So I'm gonna pull some of those in here. I'm gonna pull back my Memento ink, and I'm going to see what happens if we add a little bit of background on our stitched label die to match our flowers. So I'm gonna put this out of the way and this out of the way so I don't stamp on them accidentally. I'm gonna use this as my guide, and I'm gonna ink this up and figure out where I can add some extra backgroundy elements. Some leaves, maybe one of these, maybe another one. I want it to look like a different stamp, so I'm gonna turn it this way this time. Okay, there we go. And I feel like we could use some other leaves down here. Now, I could go ahead and remarker all of these things to add to our card, but instead of that, I'm going to bring in, I don't think I can stamp without it, my blending brush and the Granny Apple Green stamp pad so that I can stick with our Granny Apple Green. And then I have one more stamping thing to do. We're gonna do some stamping on the inside, but before I get there, let's add our color here. Now, I want a really, really soft color look to this. So I'm going to wipe on my stamp pad because that's how I like to use my blending brushes. And then I'm gonna do like a little test on my scratch paper. And sure enough, see when I first set it down, I got that ink splotch. So what I need to do is make sure that that ink splotch is either gonna be behind our flowers or I'm gonna get the ink splotch off there and then bring our blending brush onto our project, okay? So ink splotch and then blending brush, okay? Now the other thing that you wanna avoid doing, and I didn't do a good job here so you can see my mistake, is I swiped my blending brush this direction. Since the edge of the cardstock is dimensional, it's gonna grab a bunch of extra ink and you're gonna end up with like a dark green edge, and that's not really, it's definitely a cool effect, but it's not what I was going for here. So I'm gonna try to only swipe this way when I get close to the edge of my cardstock layer. So, and remember you're wiping ink on and then you're knocking a little off on the scratch paper there. Okay, so that is now a much stronger connection kind of between those two layers. It's a little hint of color in the background. It takes a little bit of the stark white away, but still leaves the white to be that nice border. And then I'm going to echo our color here by just coloring right over on the Melon Mambo dots there. Okay, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty pleased with how that works. Okay, so let's start putting things together before we get to the inside of our card here. So I am going to layer my designer series paper. And remember, I could make 40 of these cards if I just mixed and matched my colors. And then our layer here, we need some Stampin' Dimensionals. So I'll go ahead and pop a couple on there. I don't find that I need a ton of dimensionals to hold everything together. So, all right, and then work on getting that pretty well centered. There we go. And then I'm going to add some dimensionals under our layer here. Now I want the stitch line to show, so this is gonna be, just a smidge above our stitch line, and then we can put our flowers back on here. Now, I love these, but I don't want them to be too close to this layer. So I'm actually gonna go crazy with my dimensionals and put double layers. Now, if you put double layers, remember to take the backing off of the dimensional, because if you put another dimensional on top of the backing, the layers will just separate, kind of like you're peeling the backing. So now I have two dimensionals there, you can maybe kind of see on the back of each of these, and that is going to give us some extra height that allows you to see both our fun stamped background and our greeting correctly, okay? All right, so we need an embellishment for the front, and we're gonna stamp the inside. And so for the inside, I have a piece of Whisper White that's just 4 by 5 1/4, same size. And fortunately, this stamp is really cool. It's very nicely designed so that you don't have to use only, it only as like a sideways bouquet. It actually works super fabulously as a end-on bouquet. See how the flowers are also pointing this direction? It's like a trick painting or something. So that's gonna go on the inside of our card. And I won't do it again now, but I'll show you what it looks like. So there's the inside all colored, okay? So we'd have the front of our card and then the inside of our card. But I promised you an embellishment, and our embellishment is a sneak peek. So I went back and forth on this, tried to figure out what embellishment I wanted to use, some kind of glitz. I thought about Artistry Blooms sequins, which I do adore, but I didn't actually get those out because before I found them, I found this sneak peek item, which is the 2021 to 2023 In Color Jewels which are beautiful. So we have had a lot of different gems and rhinestones in the past. These I actually super love, especially for this card, because if you look at the green ones, they're very iridescent in very bright colors. So there's a little pink that shows there, there's yellow that shows there, there's blue, there's green. They have just a lot of variety to the tones when they're sparkly. Oh, I know, I can't stop looking at them. So when I add them to our card, let's see, we'll pop a couple on here. Maybe a little, whoops, at the top. Oh, where's my take your pick tool? It's gonna have to come out here in a second because, okay, there we go. And then pop one down here. Oh, I see what I did. I really should have used my take your pick tool because I managed to separate the glue dot from the rhinestone, which really doesn't help it stick, does it? So, okay, for real, I do need my take your pick tool. So now I'm gonna flip this baby over. There we go. Pick it up with my take your pick tool and pop it back on that dot. So if you look and you realize that you have pulled the jewel off of the rhinestone or the glue backing, you can go ahead and grab it again. So I am using my pointy tool here to do my last one so I don't destroy it again, and I'm gonna pop it right there in that space. Okay, so now, can you see those jewels and how much color sparkle they add? It's real subtle, but it's the kind of thing like when you glance across, you're like, ooh, fancy. So, all right, so get my take your pick tool, put back together. All right, so those are coming also on May 4th. So a great thing to add to your first order. So, all right. So I think that covers us for today. So let's, of course, remember to celebrate Cheryl's birthday on May 1st when we also do our May baskets. But even if you're not making a May basket, go for the chance to send some flowery cards or deliver some flowery cards with some smiles in person, porch drops or whatever works best in your area. Certainly it is always a great time to be reaching out and thinking about the people around you. So, all right, any other comments? I'm glad you guys like the card. Yeah, and definitely 2 dimensionals. A great way to really pop things up extra on your card and give it a little bit more dimensional, sorry, I'm moving around, a little bit more dimensional interest. And you can kind of see when the card is finished there, it really helps to separate these flowers from our greeting layer. So, all right, retiring items, Bloom and Grow, okay, not unspecial, but even better than the bundle pricing by a long shot because Budding Blooms dies, a super clearance. Then we have nested stitched labels dies, which obviously mine are falling off the thing because I take them out so often. We have the designer series papers. These, I think 3 of the 5 retiring ones or 3 of the 6 ones are discounted, so you can check those out. Let's see, anything else we use? I think that covers it. But most of all, remember when you're using your Stampin' Blends to go ahead and grab your Memento ink pad. That is a tip that you will find helpful for all of your stamping. So I love the wishing happy birthday things. Oh, and happy belated birthday to Kathy. Let's see. I'm trying to, my friend Rachel has a birthday in a couple days. My friend Mary Ellen had a birthday this week. What is it with April, people? It's super popular birthday month. Anyway, so I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you on Friday with another card, and we will still be in the month of April, right, on Friday. So actually, I think we might need to make a May basket on Friday to give you guys some inspiration on things that you might want to make to share for Cheryl's birthday. I mean, May Day. So, all right, guys, happy stamping. Link is in the video description if there are any supplies that you need. So, happy stamping.